As I write this, the world is gripped by fear of coronavirus, and its reaction has quite rightly been to lock down anybody who isn't doing an essential service that can't be done at home. For everybody else, the thing to do is stay home, wash your hands, don't touch your face, don't hoard supplies, be a team player. For quite a while now, I've wanted to make a video about the socio-economic repercussions of a technological singularity. And suddenly, instead of being hypothetical and decades off, one of those repercussions is here right now. We're seeing it play out live. And it's going to stick around at least for a couple of months, possibly somewhat longer. So what is that repercussion? It is that jobs don't matter. Now, my original thesis was going to start out with, if AI is doing everything, then who's going to pay you to do whatever it is that you do? But now we've got that being looked at from a slightly different perspective, which is to say, if your job isn't essential, then why is anybody paying you for anything? Before, we could always get away with just making value, but there are scant ways to do that in the current climate. Sure, there are some businesses that will be able to prosper from this. I'm sure, the people that made House Party or Zoom or the CEOs of the various supermarkets are going to be respectfully, solemnly loving it. But there's a massive chunk of us who have non-essential jobs. Think of all the people that are in brick and mortar retail. Think of anybody that's in any sort of live event type situation that involves, face-to-face meeting people. Think of people in real estate. These are all non-essential jobs, which nobody is going to want to pay for. What we're seeing is the realization of what a certain brand of philosopher and economist has been saying for centuries now, that the world has more people than it needs to have, and that if run efficiently, you can get away with maybe a third of those people actually needing to be doing any work. Which is to say that your ideal unemployment rate is 70%. For reference, economists will normally tell you that your unemployment rate should be something like 4%. And that's a good place to be because it means that employers will be able to have a free labour pool from which to grab new employees. But that only makes sense if what you're trying to do is prop up a free market capitalist economy. In both the UK and the US, our last general elections gave us the most right-wing governments that they could have. And those governments' response to this crisis has been the kind of spending that progressive candidates would never have dreamed of putting forward during that last election due to unelectability. But the key difference is that for the progressive candidates, this was all in the plan. They had the costs worked out for this. And importantly, it would be something that they'd have implemented before it all went wrong. We would have been ready to weather it immediately. We are through the looking glass here. What used to be considered utopian and unelectable is now seen for what it really is, absolutely essential. Now we realise that the actual utopia was this fantasy that everything can just continue growing and prospering indefinitely, and that everybody will be able to take advantage of that growth and of that prosperity, or at least that they will be able to dream about taking advantage of it. The reality is that we know that's impossible. All bubbles must pop, and you can't just keep replacing them with new bubbles. Eventually, you run out of soapy water. So what are the jobs that are actually worth paying for? Those are healthcare workers, they're delivery drivers, they are emergency services, farmers, sewage workers, greengrocers, factory workers, warehouse workers, the people that keep everything that we need running. So what are the things that we actually need? Well, we now know this. Healthcare, food, toilet roll, internet, functional technology, a clean environment, entertainment. We live in a capitalist society that was caught with its pants down when something big actually happened. We had undervalued our most important people and the things that we actually need. We cared more about making sure that nobody got more than they deserved and cared not at all about ensuring that everybody got the bare minimum that they needed. We under-resourced our most important services. We overburdened our most important people. And all because profitability demands that we eke every last bit out of our resources. So when we come out of the other end of this, and if we do, it will be because of ostensibly socialist policies saving us from the dystopic utopian ideals of free market capitalism. Remember that we are able to make all of that work in the worst situation with less than 6 months warning. Imagine how well we could do it if governments actually wanted to do it and had planned to do it in the first place. So when you next go out to vote, and you have a choice between a party that wants to do terrible things for the sake of balancing the books, or a party that wants everybody to be helped equally because human beings deserve nice things, between a party that is consistently proven to lie about who it is that they want to help, and a party that consistently strives to improve the plight of everybody, even if they don't necessarily manage to make it happen all the time. Think back to this time when all the governments of the world stopped playing silly buggers and tried to help everybody. Amidst this tragedy, there is a beacon of hope that we can both weather this responsibly and end up with a world in which everybody is both willing and able to look out for the least privileged members of society. And with that, if you can, stay home, wash your hands, don't touch your face, and I'll try and be back soon to explain what happens in a world where not everybody is necessary.